is up, you guys, and welcome back to the new edition of the PHNX Mercury podcast. We got some new intro music live on this Tuesday afternoon. I am joined by PG1, QB1, on and off the field, in and out of the studio, my guy, Stephen Prejohn Garner, and then obviously the newest edition of the show, Gil McGregor, who does come from Swagless U, but that's neither here nor there. We also...
Watch it.
Keeping that in Gil's intro is honestly insane.
You know what? That's fine. It's cool.
I mean, it's that or ball boy. And I honestly feel like ball boy is more disrespectful.
Board man. We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
We will, but I mean, geez, what's a girl left to do? I only see this guy once a month. I'm just I'm grasping at straws here, guys.
It'll come
I'm doing my
organically.
best. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then we've got a guest on today's show, our first guest of the 2026 season, the Meghan Hall of USA Today. Meghan, how the heck are you doing on this fine Tuesday afternoon?
I'm living great. I'm living large and in charge, like the kids say. So
I told you I was going to be a little goofy to start the show, but I didn't give you any hints, any clues as to what I was going to say. And I have to say, you know what I think about when I think of the Meghan Hall?
Oh gosh, where is this going?
Oof. Uh-oh.
No idea? Oh, nobody else knows? It's Meg the Stallion, man. When I was scrolling on my timeline and there it was, Meghan Hall interviewing Meg the Stallion, the way I was losing my mind, I was like, oh, Meg's got motion. And now you're on my show? Oh my gosh, can you tell Meg I say hi, please?
This is so insane.
Since y'all are close personal friends, hey. I mean, geez.
We are not. We are not by any sort of stretch of the imagination. She was cool,
glad
though.
Somebody else did it, and I didn't have to press that button this time. Because, just saying, if a lot of people are saying the same thing, it'd be true.
Man, see, now you got Steven all worked up because this is what I have to deal with all the time in the group chat that I'm in with him. It's just constant superstar allegations that I'm never clearly beating.
Allegations. You know what? I'm gonna keep the train on the tracks. You got it. You got it.
Allegations, smegulations, whatever you guys want to say. Nonetheless, we've got Miss Big Time Meghan Hall here on the show today. Obviously, as usual, we've got Kevin behind the Mac, pushing the X's and O's, making sure this bus stays on the track or the train or whatever I usually say, T. But welcome back to the show. Be sure to leave a like, thumbs up, 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to PHNX Sports while you're here. Word on the street is they've got all these cool sports shows, Suns, Cardinals, us, Rising, Wildcats, ASU, whoever that is, all these fun shows you can be tapped in with all the time. And now we're here with the Mercury Show, which is arguably the best show on the PHNX network. But I'm just a host of it, so I have to be biased. But Meghan, since we have you on the show, we're going to be talking a little bit of Mercury basketball, a little bit of Dream basketball, and just kind of getting your perspective on where the Mercury where the Mercury are, where the Mercury are headed. As someone who has now seen the team more recently than we have, especially in the iteration of the starting lineup that you saw, I guess I want to get your perspective on kind of if you time travel and you're back at the beginning of the season before we've seen any real games for the money, your preseason thoughts on the roster construction and the free agency moves from the Phoenix Mercury.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I would say that I wasn't particularly high on them, admittedly, because I was concerned about how they would get back to the finals and win, right? That's the whole point of evaluating the rosters is hopefully this is a finals roster that could get you back. But however, you only got one season out of Satu Sabali, which was supposed to be your big three, your core, and now we're playing musical, I guess, players off the bench now. You're just kind of rotating in different names. And I felt now, obviously, Ka and AT have to kind of say these things. This is their team, and I won't say half. They believe these things. They believe that Phoenix is a good team. They believe that Phoenix can essentially get back there. But my concerns off the bat were, okay, so this roster looks a little bit different than what you trotted out to the finals, right? And also, you don't want to just get back to the finals. You want to win the whole daggone thing. because not only did you get to the finals, but you got swept. And that is, I know they were stewing on that because they clearly showed it when they saw the Aces' first game of the season. But I'm not entirely convinced that this roster is one that could win the whole thing. And it's not from the starting five. It's the bench depth that I am concerned about. And when I say concerned, I mean, who is going to be, we don't know this answer yet, but who's going to be your X factor down the stretch? What's going to really make the difference? And that is what we noticed in the finals. Vegas had it, Phoenix didn't. And so jury is still out there. I think early returns probably tell you, Joanna Jokic would probably be that, but I don't know. I don't know. So we'll see what happens with this Phoenix team. But yeah, preseason till now, I wasn't thinking. I still don't feel great now. After what are they, 2-5 as of this recording? So yeah, still don't feel great.
I'll just add to what Meghan said so well. I ain't trying to hear nothing about finals win. That's the start you've had defensively in particular. You have a standard, you have a precedent set, and a lot of that aligns with probably 80% on the defensive end of the floor. Alyssa Thomas hasn't had a team that's finished less than top 5 on defense since 2017. Nate Tibbetts is a defensive-minded head coach. Christy Tolliver won 2 championships rooted in the understanding of what it takes to do those things defensively. DeWanna's made an all-defensive team. There's a lot of defense around. It hasn't surfaced yet. Now, it's still early, only 7 games, still 4 games removed from the first quarter mark of the season. But you can't even think about the ultimate goal until you start to hammer out the goal within a 5-minute stretch consistently over the course of games. We've seen them do it in 2 and 3 minute spurts. In 2 and 3 minute spurts, they had a bunch of those against Atlanta. And we saw what happened in that game in particular. So you got to start taking baby steps. So to your point, Meghan, you can't talk championships until we start to see the things that made them the team that made the finals last year start to surface in a sustained capacity.
I like that you mentioned. And I guess. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Go ahead, Gil. My apologies.
No, I was just saying I like that you mentioned how early it is in the season. Like we already got to the quarter point, but we're a week away from that, and like before you know it, that time is going to fly, and that's kind of what we've been talking about. I don't know if it's a cop out or is as simple as saying, "Hey, look, it is early. Like there's still time to figure it out," especially given the circumstances that you were up against as far as the roster and everybody getting back together, injury as well. But at the same time, you need some stuff to be inspired by. So I'm kind of trying to figure out where to land on that spectrum of, okay, look, all the cards haven't worked in your favor, but at the same time, what have you done with the cards that you have been dealt? And I don't feel great about them. That could change, but right now, I don't feel great about it.
Well, and I guess my biggest concern, to be honest with all of you guys, is that like this isn't the first time Nate Tibbetts or the Phoenix Mercury have faced a little bit of adversity in terms of injury and roster construction at the beginning of the season. Last year you have Kalia Copper out, you have Natasha Mack out, and they got out to the best start in the 3-year, era of Nate Tibbetts. And then, you have this year where you're missing Sammy Whitcomb. Obviously, yes, you're missing Monica Cole-McConney. And then to Megan's point, like you are kind of playing musical chairs with some new pieces, but like at the same time, like you've kind of been able to get it done with some undersold talent, I guess is a good word for it. Like these people weren't, necessarily touted to be highly recruited free agents. They were playing overseas, and then Nick Urin and his magical crew of scouts went over and found them in the dust and brought them back to the WNBA for glory. And it's kind of built in the same way where you have all these names that not everybody in the WNBA landscape is aware of, and you're hoping to kind of reinvigorate that same magic that was the 2025 defense, and it's just kind of turned out to be a really tough task. It's very uphill, and when you have players that are so bought in on your system in 2025, I'm not going to speak for the players' buy-in today, but it does make it hard to get back to that level because of how bought in that 25 team was. So I'm interested to see how they can possibly get back to the same level of defense this year, even with the addition of Sammy Whitcomb and obviously Monica Cole-McConney, who we hope to see back in a Mercury uniform tomorrow.
Yep. Yep. I think my biggest concern for Phoenix now is how do you get out of this hole, right? Like Alyssa Thomas talked about it on Sunday, saying this is uncharted territory for her. She's never had this kind of start to her career. So obviously, I think it has to start with her leadership, Kalia Copper's leadership, right? DeWanna Bonner, these are your veterans on the team that people look to. But also to your point, I think it was to Steven's point, was the consistency on defense is just not there. I think we clearly saw on Sunday that Phoenix has no problem scoring points. That is not an issue. They were lighting Atlanta up from the perimeter, mid range, the paint, you name it, they had it. The problem is that their defense down the stretch faltered. And I think if you are going to be, let's say, a top five defense, like obviously that is not something that happens overnight, but I think you start to see stretches, longer stretches early on that say, okay, we can maintain this throughout the season. Like I want everyone to think about that, like not everyone can be the Las Vegas Aces, right? Like you cannot go on a historic run, right? Like you cannot have Asia Wilson play at astronomical levels and all of a sudden everybody else falls in line. Like that season last year is almost a blip on the radar. Like it just typically does not happen like that. So most of the championship teams, you go back and look at the New York Liberty the year before, like they were consistently in the top five for defense, consistently in the top five for offense, right? And even the Vegas teams before last year, same thing. So I think for Phoenix, you want to get back to the finals, like it has to start now. No, I'm not saying that you can't dig yourself out of a hole, but you're 2-5, friend. So you got to get yourself to 500 first and then start stacking the wins from there. Because the thing that you don't want to do is find yourselves in having the same problems after All-Star break when the schedule gets even harder as you make that push towards the playoffs, and then you're staring at each other like, are we even going to make the playoffs? Will we last past the first round? Like, you don't want those questions. You want to be sure of yourself.
I go the route of, okay, looking at, we've assessed it from a bird's eye view, now take a little closer look. Veronica Burden, Olivia Miles, Marina Mabry, Brittany Sykes, Jordan Canada most recently. Throw Rickea Jackson in the mix. Throw a little bit of Natasha Cloud in that mix as well. There's a consistency with, if not direct position, and I'm going to throw Gabby Williams in there too. Gabby and Ryan Howard, and obviously even more so Rickea Jackson, a little bigger on the size scale, but they operate at the helm of offenses. If not initiating, they're running plays for them. Not being able to contain the basketball is something that, like, when you're defending to a scheme, that's one thing, but it feels like more of their issues are just kind of containing that first initial thrust from an opponent versus we're in rotation and our communication isn't sharp, so we have to just kind of have time under tension together. I think it's as simple as just guarding the basketball better and doing that consistently. Fourth quarter comes around yesterday, and after all that good defense they played, I think they held Atlanta to 12 points in the third. You get to the fourth quarter, and even more specifically the last like 2.5 minutes, so not even a full fourth.
16-5 run.
And the only thing I'm thinking about is Jordan Canada drive to a layup, Jordan Canada drive to a foul, Jordan Canada coast to coast after a rebound in transition. Like, those are the things that you just cannot have happening, and especially not in crunch time in particular. And now it was different against Jordan Canada than it was against Olivia Miles, and those were different than what it was against someone like any of the other players that I just got done mentioning. They're all unique in and of themselves, but the overarching point of being able to defend these types of players is a theme that's recurring. Yep.
And I was thinking about that, Megan. I was curious through your vantage point, because you mentioned that last 2.5 minutes in the 16-5 run. I know we were going to talk about that game, and watching it and seeing just the energy, when that lead was built. I really liked what I was seeing. I saw, the bench was engaged and everybody was playing for one another. You saw the energy. You saw a team that looked like they recognized what they were up against, not just their opponent, but the losing streak that they could be facing if they lost. And it felt like that was going to carry them over. But was there a point that you saw where it kind of felt like things just kind of broke apart, or you could sense that things were about to weaken the way that it did? Because even the way that things unfolded in regulation, I thought that it was at least going to go to overtime. I thought this was at least going to, be extended and it was going to go further. But for them to lose that game in regulation the way they did, was there a moment where it felt like, oh, this team's about to crack?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that during the run, I think Ryan Howard made back-to-back threes, and that was the first sign of the cracks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you come down to get the lane, the Jordan Canada play where she gets the and one. Alicia Gray gets a massive and one during that big run. But to me, the one that like probably not enough people are talking about, Izzy Borlays hit a massive three.
Yes.
I think it was on the like almost on the elbow, top of the elbow. And she sank that thing and the whole place just erupted. And I think it was one of those things that was like, oh, we can absolutely win this now. Like this it's not a problem. I think the problem was Phoenix just absolutely lost her on that possession and Atlanta kicked it out so fast and Izzy has a quick release and she let it fly and it went in. And I think to me, I think what happened after that was that Phoenix just didn't know what to do. Really didn't know what to do. And by the time they figured it out, like Atlanta was up 5 with like, I don't know, 15 seconds left or something like that. And at that point I was like, Atlanta probably still squeaks this out, but I mean, again, it's Kalia Copper. She's coming Atlanta and, hit ridiculous shots. She did, Alyssa Thomas did. So I really wasn't like, I didn't really think that Atlanta would walk out of there completely with that win. I thought that they probably had a good chance, but again, I know who's on the other side, so I'm like, yeah, come on, Atlanta, we'll see what you have here. But honestly, I think it was that sequence, that whole run. I was genuinely surprised by how much Phoenix gave up off the perimeter, by how much they gave through the lane, by how many fouls that they racked up during that run as well. Yeah, I think that Izzy Borlays 3 was just the punctuation mark on that whole entire run where they're just like, you know what? We've lost control of the game here. We have nothing left. And I'm not even sure, to be honest with you, I'm not even sure they felt that confident in their final play. I think DeWanna Bonner could have easily gone up and, hit a little bank shot and it would have gone in. But I like watching them live. I'm like, is this how this is supposed to be? Because I probably would have put AT in there because AT has been one arm just tapping basketballs into the rim. I'm like, sure, all right. And maybe they wanted the height versus Angel Reese, but I just at the end of the game, I was like, I have no idea what's going on here. I'd have to be in the huddle to understand the logic there. But yeah, I just think during that run, that Izzy Borlays 3 was the end of it all at that point. Like you could have still stopped Atlanta probably if not for that 3, but that's the one that sticks out in my mind.
I'll jump in real quick too. They had 4 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter alone. That is also been something that's hurt the Mercury. If it's not their outright point of attack defense, it's just one stop defense. Can you just keep them to one shot on goal? If you're not forcing turnovers yet, cool. That's not always in your control. What is in your control is grabbing the boards. And like I said, Atlanta had 4 of those. I think they scored on either 2 or 3 of those, and the other one that they didn't score on was just that Angel just happened to miss one of the putbacks because I think it was like AT and DeWanna were like right next to her and putting their hands up. So she missed that, and they were affording a possession to get out in transition. But the bigger picture point for me, the Mercury have conceded 89 points to second chance opportunities to opponents this season. That's only number 2. It's number 2 only to Toronto this season in terms of points conceded to opponents just by way of giving them extra possessions like that. And that's accounted for 14.6% of the points that the Mercury have conceded to opponents in general this season, which is like 3rd or 4th most in the W. That has to change quick. And I think that's something, again, to the point that we're all bringing up in different ways, something that's very controllable, which is why it's not a ring the alarm moment. But to your point, Megan, and to your point, Gil, like the clock it's still first quarter, but the clock is like, come this time next week, some of these habits need to be much more fortified than they've shown to be so far through these first 7 games.
And to be honest, I'm glad you guys brought up the rotations. And before I forget, I have to say that we're presented by Mountain American Credit Union. I promised Kevin I would say that at the top of the show, and then I did not do that. So, Max, if you're watching, please, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. That's on me. It's not on our lovely guests here. I was just trying to make their time here more palpable. I was so excited to talk about Meg the Stallion that I forgot to say our presenting partner. So that's really on me. And then I forgot, and I sat here for 20 minutes. So please, Max, spare my soul. I'm begging. I'm on my knees, please. But nonetheless, I'm glad you guys brought up the rotations because obviously, as the official MAC honker of 2026, 2025, and 2024, the thing that stuck out like a sore thumb to me late in the fourth quarter was the fact that Mac was not in the game. And while no, she is not the biggest offensive threat in the world, she does do the exact thing that everybody in this podcast is talking about right now, which is securing boards. And I'm not a coach. I like to say that Stephen is the expert around here, but I was definitely befumbled by the rotation situation in the fourth quarter. You have control of the game to Megan's point until literally right at the very end of this game, and then all of a sudden you lose control. You can't get a rebound anywhere, offensive or defense. You're giving up all these boards on the defensive end. You're giving up boards on your end. It just gives and gives and gives. You're giving all these extra possessions, and then what do you know? You lose the game by 2 points, and substitutions or whatever they say, but like you do wish that looks a little differently sometimes, right? And again, I'm not a coach, I'm not in the huddle, but the rotations seem to be, honestly, to Megan's point, seem to be a little musical cherry in a lot of ways right now. And he's trying to find out what works late in games. And I'm not trying to make excuses, but in fact, quite the opposite, I think. But it definitely lends some to be desired late game situations.
I think just like the team early season. Go ahead. I was gonna say it's just figuring it out, but go ahead, Megan.
No, I was gonna say that I thought that I think Natasha Mack got into foul trouble, and I think that's probably why we didn't see her as much. However, having said that, though, like she got 4 fouls, so she didn't foul out. So I still think that there could have been time for her to kind of help impact that game, whether it's providing that extra length, that extra presence inside. Her and Angel Reese were battling early, which it was a fantastic kind of one back and forth between the two of them.
Where's the T button when you need it? Because there was a lot going on between. Yeah, it was a lot going on between Angel and Mac.
Yeah, they were
looking forward to when they come to the desert.
Yeah, they were chopping it up to say the least.
Yes.
But I thought that it was Mac was still hanging in there as much as she was getting in foul trouble with Angel. I thought she was still hanging in there, at least providing some sort of disruption. And I think I'm curious if Nate felt like, hey, today wasn't her day, so he just pulled her. But I also wonder, I'm like, is this a trust sort of situation? Like, hey, this is who I trust in late game situations. Like, I don't know. You guys might know that more than I do in terms of like, who does he typically go to in those late game rotations? I haven't, admittedly, I've watched Phoenix basketball, but not like an entire, years worth, seasons worth. It's a lot trying to cover the entire league. But I'm just curious of like, is this typical? Should we be concerned? Because I was also surprised not to see DeWanna Bonner in the starting lineup after she had been. So I'm just curious of like what you guys think in terms of his late game rotations, especially considering Mac was on the bench.
I'll defer to you real quick in a second. I was going to say what I thought about in like the overarching theme of it, as far as like the fact that they've lost it a lot of different ways in clutch time. And it feels like just as this team is trying to figure it out, the staff is trying to figure out what buttons to press. So that is true. Like it's been the common theme has been there's been a lot of different buttons pressed. We've seen them lose close games in different ways. I know like the final score against Toronto was 8 points, but like there were chances down the stretch. I feel like Sparks game wasn't as close as it looked, but things would have to go perfectly. But this one, I think, was a different clutch loss than any other ones they had. Well, the Lynx one was kind of a similar loss that they had a lead and they blew it in the fourth quarter. So we're kind of seeing this happen in different ways. We even had conversations. I thought they had turned a corner against Chicago later that week after they lost to Minnesota. But what's been disappointing for me is that it feels like they've taken multiple steps back after taking a step or two forward in that Chicago win. So, yeah, I think for me, I know there was a lot of questions, a lot of talk on social media about like they should have pressed different buttons. But it feels like the next games that we see this week, if they are close games that go down the stretch, we probably will see different buttons pressed because it does kind of feel like he hasn't figured it out yet or hasn't figured out the exact formula he wants to use. And granted, each team provides different challenges, but still, that's kind of been my read on it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, same people calling for Nate's job. Seen it in the chat now. We've seen it after every loss that's taking place this season. Like, yo, they was just in the finals.
Not that long ago.
He just went through a murderous row of coaches. Right. Sandy Brondello, who's got multiple championship appearances in the ring in her own regard. Cheryl Reed, for crying out loud, whose reputation precedes her. I don't even need to dive into that. Like, yes, he lost to Becky Hammond, of course. But we can't be so quick to jump to the conclusion of team plays bad, Coach is not doing job. Coach has to go. It can't be that dire of a immediate jump to conclusion on that front because there's a lot of context that's not even lost in translation. It's just not even being considered when you're speaking to it. So I'm going to just kind of dive into it a little bit. So we go back to last season. Erica and Kevin can attest more than anybody right now, but a little bit past the halfway part of the season, the Mercury going to bring in DeWanna Bonner. Some people questioning the fit and whether she's needed. Next thing you know, Satu goes down with another injury, and the other players are in and out of the rotation. So she ends up having to start some games. I think maybe 1 or 2 games into her Mercury, her coming back home. She ends up starting. They beat Minnesota, close with her, I think, at the 5, and end up winning that game in comeback fashion. Now, remind me, when we got to the playoffs last year and it came time to close those games against the New York Liberty and then close those games against the Minnesota Lynx, and then they didn't result in a win, but to start closing games against the Las Vegas Aces, who was on the court and who wasn't on the court? DeWanna was on, Mac was not on as much. So what I'm saying by that is there's a consistency in rhythm and pattern and how Nate has shown to be confident and not just blind confidence. There's tangible evidence in multiple bouts of a murder's row of playoff teams they went against and saw as much success as anybody not named Vegas last year. Like, that's the trust that comes with that. Now, yes, 2/5 of those lineups that were out there in those closing units, or 2/5 of those pieces there weren't there, and Sammy and Monica Cole-McConney, that shifts a lot of things for sure. But I think for him to not deviate from the things that he trusts just speaks more so to the confidence he has in what they do have versus why he's making decisions in the rotation and things like that off of other merits. I trust a coach that has consistency and they're moving off of proof of concept with that. So hopefully that answered your question, Megan.
Yeah, for sure it does. I think I was just curious because like I said, I hadn't seen as much of Phoenix this season as I probably would want to, but I think you're right. Now that I go back and think about like all those the playoff run and then up to the finals, yeah, it was Ka, Satu when possible, AT, DBs out there, and probably Monique, Mac in certain situations, but then probably pulled out later in the game, so that makes sense. I guess I just thought this season, Mac has been playing really, really well, and she's got an early case for most improved players. So I was figured, okay, hey, he's probably going to, at least keep her out there. I mean, you gotta trust in your pieces, right? You're at least the ones that are consistent from you. So that was a little shocking to see her not out there in those late game situations. But you got to also do what you feel is correct. So I think to your point though, they're going to continue shuffling these lineups, I would assume, until they feel like they got it right. Yep. But I would say this: you can't keep shuffling for too much longer, because this is really where the consistency starts to form. Is really in that first quarter of the season and on. So yeah, you want that lineup to be solidified as much as you can, unless somebody just starts having a breakout season. You're like, okay, I got to throw them in the lineup. Cool, fine, but yeah, you want to get that consistency. You don't want it to be that you have 6 different lineups before you even hit the middle part of the season. So
3 more quick things. With Atlanta last night, Borlasi was in the closing lineup next to Angel instead of Nas Hillman. So they put a spacer on the floor instead of having their traditional starting unit. So there's some gamesmanship in trying to match them, trying to space the floor out with having some perimeter players that are more comfortable defending against that type of lineup. Monique definitely will help and change with a lot of things that we've seen, but it can't be incumbent on solely her to be the person that's tasked with guarding the ball, because guess what? One action, if you end up having to switch, somebody else has to be up to the task. And just kind of through that lens, look who else didn't close last night, Jovana Nogic. She played those first couple minutes in the fourth quarter, had a turnover, ended up checking out, and never got back into the game. Nate is holding people accountable to being able to guard their yard. If you're not going to be able to guard your yard, then it's going to be hard to come across minutes at times. I can't speak to the Valua Yayi situation because she didn't get any minutes last night. But I imagine there's some things happening where they're pointing things out on film and they're looking and saying, hey, our standard is here. We brought you in because we know you have a standard that's higher than what we're asking. You aren't quite meeting that yet. We got to keep pressing buttons, playing musical chairs to Megan's point until we find somebody that can do it. This is like the second or third game now where Kiana Williams has closed over Ivana Nogic. And it's not for it's not for talent purposes. It's for you have a specific set of skills that we need to try to put some of these fires out on the perimeter. And then the third one is also on the topic of Natasha Mack, who mentioned on Twitter last night or Sunday night that she did not play her best game. Yeah, always been very honest and up forward with that. I think the other part of it too, if we're going back to last season, Kat Westbeld closed a lot of games in the playoffs, especially against Minnesota in particular. So if we're talking about Nate deviating from his starting unit to close games, that's just another layer of the three names we mentioned between Monique, between Sammy, and then between Kat Westbeld that closed in some iteration that got that team to the finals last year. He's trying to find the pieces to press that button with now. And I think you should be conceded a little bit of artistic creativity when you're working with so many new pieces. You figured out how to bring Noemi Brochan into the mix, and she's been very good defensively the last 2 games for them. But now it's about finding out who else can do that in tandem with Noemi eventually when Monique comes back. How are you going to build out that rotation? Now, I imagine Valu plays a big piece into that going forward. But again, everybody has to show those things. We can't keep speaking on hypotheticals.
Before I let Megan show her bird feathers regarding the Atlanta Dream and talk about how damn good they are, I want to get these super chats about the other team out the way, because before we talk about one team, let's talk about a completely different one, left field. We got Classic Stang Lover in here dropping super chats left and right. First of all, he says AI stats are the best stats. If you watch the DLS Wings podcast, you could have seen me discover in real time the new AI stat that is, gravity on the WNBA's website. I could drop another 5 to 10 minute rant about why I don't want this stat anywhere near the league I love. But all in all, I'll just say this: Jeff Bezos does not care about my league. So how about we leave him and his AI stats away from my league? That is not kind. And that's all I'm going to say on that, because I will get out of hand. And then he also says for another 199 AZ for MVP. Hold on. We're working on 6th player of the year, guys. Like, one thing at a time. One thing at a time, okay? Jeez. Anyways. Megan, I do want to give you an opportunity, because I feel like my suspicions are probably correct that the Atlanta Dream is actually just that dang good. And they've been on the cusp of greatness for like 3, 4, maybe even 5 years. Like, they've been close to being this version of themselves. Even when maybe their record didn't say that, they have been a good team for a long time. So just talk about like kind of what you're seeing from this season's iteration. Obviously, adding Angel Reese brings a lot of, I hate that I'm about to use this word, gravity to your team, but nonetheless, there's plenty of other pieces to go around.
Yeah, so this is my 4th season covering Atlanta, so I've seen different versions of them in every season, and I would say that this start by far is the best, obviously, that they've had in the 4 seasons I've been covering them. And I think oddly enough, it is their defense that's carrying them. Like, I know we talk a lot about the offensive prowess they have, but it is their defense, because Atlanta was not shooting well in several matchups. And for them to come out with a 4-1 record after 5 games is pretty impressive. Now, I will say I really don't want to see them try to get themselves out of multiple double-digit leads. Double-digit deficits like that, because that's not fun for them. It's not fun for fans. It's not even fun for the folks that cover them like us, because it's stress.
That storyline be shifting, huh?
Man, you find yourself like mid-right. You're like, oh, okay, all right. I think this is safe to write, and then something happens. Yeah, I have waited so long in multiple matchups, just scrap whatever I was going to write. But to that point, though, I think it's their defense. And Carl Smesko mentioned just this past week how they wanted to come into training camp with a defensive identity. So his first season last year was about, okay, can I install my system? Can I install my offense? This is like, okay, we have a lot of players who have come back from last year, brought our core back. We brought some of our bench back as well. Now I want to install my defensive identity. And that's what you're seeing is the focus on. I knew something was different when I was during training camp, and I was watching Carl explain how he wanted the team to execute on steals, and he was talking about it and called it a surgical strike. And so he was talking about, okay, this is like almost like military precision. So when you come with the steal, you want to either get your hand either on top or underneath that person's hand to dislodge the ball. And so it was a different way to attack steal so that you don't rack up the fouls that a lot of people do, trying to go across the body, that sort of thing. We saw the first iteration of that somewhat when Angel Reese had that pop-up play against Minnesota where the ball was like just held out in front of her and she popped it up like a volleyball move. We saw Jordan Canada multiple times on Sunday steal the ball away, get that hand in there and dislodge it from Alyssa Thomas. Those sorts of little moments create magic for Atlanta. Atlanta is very much a team that thrives off of, hey, our defense helps feed our transition offense and helps get our offense going and that sort of thing. I think the difference now also is, and we probably, we'll continue to see this season. I would love to continue to see this evolution, but you have Ryan Howard taking on a much bigger leadership role, not just off the court, because we've talked to different players who've said, hey, Ryan's a lot more vocal. She doesn't speak often, but when she does, it is with intention and it's with a purpose. But you've also seen her command the floor this season. I think that's really, really important. And I think, and I've said this for years, is that like Atlanta's ceiling is with Ryan Howard. They go as Ryan Howard goes. And you could probably make the same argument for Alicia Gray now as well, because Atlanta heavily depends on Leash, but I think it also depends on Ryan Howard as well. And so I think for Atlanta, if they can continue to have this defense be in the top 5 and they can get their offense to match, I think you're looking at a team that could potentially make a deep run. So sorry for Atlanta fans if you're listening right now. You do not want, and I repeat, you do not want what you had last season where you got in the first round and got ceremoniously bumped by the Fever, because that was, to be honest, that shouldn't have happened, because Atlanta was the superior team at that point in time. And so I think for the Fever, they were playing with a lot more intensity, a lot more scrappiness, trusting and believing that they belong there just as much. And they obviously, like I said, went to the second round and pushed Vegas as well. All that to say, Atlanta has had the talent there, but what has been needed is not only the talent is not enough, but the belief is the other thing, the cohesion on both ends of the floor. They have not been consistent on both ends of the floor long enough for them to make a deep run into the playoffs. And so now I think this is the time to do that. And sorry, I'm going a little long here, but I think that this is important for that context. But I think to the point, you add Angel Reese to that, which Angel's already providing not just an extra offensive spark with Bree Jones out currently, but Atlanta was already a top 3 team in rebounds last year without Angel, and like they are crushing the boards. Obviously, Angel's leading the league in rebounds right now as well, but not just rebounds, but those second chance opportunities. Angel's also creating. She's making a good relationship early on with Jordan Canada. Like these are the things that you missed in Chicago, where she needed to have a big guard relationship, that you're now seeing develop in Atlanta. So all that to say, I have high expectations for Atlanta, because you were a top 3 team last year. You made the playoffs, so that's the minimum. You got to be top 3 or better minimum. And then the other thing is, which we'll just address the elephant in the room, is like if you see Vegas at any point in fashion in these playoffs and even during the season, like your goal, and not that it isn't, but your goal should be to steamroll them at any point. They are the standard now for everybody, and that should be every team, not just Atlanta, but they are the standard. So you've got to figure out what is the secret to get through, not only through Vegas, but past Vegas and back to the WNBA finals for some teams, and to the to the finals for other teams for the first time.
That was why I was so big on Angel in A-Town, because you have a team that showed to have, when they were winning games and sustaining at a certain level of winning, they had an identity. Angel embodies a lot of what that team last year at its best had in an individual piece. So if you take that individual and you add them to that mix, while they brought back most of their main rotation from just last season, I'm just thinking 1 + 1 is 2. If you're bringing a piece that aligns directly with already how you decided to play, but does so to extents that you maybe didn't have in an individual last season, you mentioned the offensive rebounding in particular. Like, what does it look like when you're giving Big Al and Ryan Howard and Jordan Canada extra possessions? Like, it's cool if you already have to defend them one time, but if they're getting multiple opportunities, and the way that weighs on the kind of terms that a game is being played on over the course of it, and then to your other point, the defense, now they've gotten 2 or 3 offensive rebounds in one possession, and Ryan knocks down a 3. Now you got to go against their set defense. And now you got to deal with Nas Hillman potentially and Angel Reese in one kind of lineup. If not, one of those is on the floor, and they're able to do all of the wrecking ball stuff they do defensively. That's just it's so much. It weighs on an opponent over the course of games, and the fact that they have that to the spades at which they do. We haven't even mentioned Tahina Pow and some of the things that she can bring as a spark in her second season. Like, there's just so much there. This is why I don't think it's a dream that Atlanta can see themselves being in the contention conversation. in the contention conversation. It's because they care so much about defense and they have more defensive capital to kind of play to that now. I like the defense and rebound and win championships adage is as old as time. And I know a lot of the new people to the league don't like to hear that, but it's still true. Scoring matters, but if you can limit what teams are doing and also control the boards, that's how Phoenix got to the finals last year. They weren't just vastly outscoring New York or Minnesota. They were controlling the margins. That's the route to doing it, and I think Carl Smesco has enough creativity to get them to that stage potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for Atlanta, for them, they want that, and they've been talking about that, for multiple seasons now. But I think it's putting all the pieces together. And here's the thing: like when Bree Jones comes back, that's really when I will turn my headlights on to say, okay, what are we working with now out here? Because I feel like if they are this, and I don't like saying good because I don't think it's just a good thing. Atlanta's been a great team, but if they're this good now without Bree Jones, you put Naz Hillman back. Naz Hillman to lead your bench mob is just absolutely insane.
Not playing
Naz,
fair.
Naz, Tahina Pow. You've now got Medina Okot coming off the bench and adding minutes as a rookie. You've got Izzy Borlays, who was an MVP in the Australian League. Izzy took a little bit of time to get herself comfortable, but I really thought she showed what she could do in that Phoenix game. That really shows you, okay, we've got some pieces here. You added Aaliyah Nye, who Atlanta was actually really high on before she came to the Dream. Like, there's multiple pieces there that I think could get Atlanta, like they said, over the hump. The biggest thing for them is how bad do you want it, right? How bad do you want it? And the thing is, you got to set those expectations now, because everybody knows this, but for multiple teams, you could play well in the beginning of the season and then, you just slide into the playoffs, or you can get better as the season goes on and be consistent. And that's the biggest thing for Atlanta is consistency. So I just think that once Bree Jones comes back, and I am unabashedly a Bree Jones agenda pusher, because I think she's criminally underrated.
Yes.
But yeah, once Bree Jones comes back, then I really want to see what this Atlanta team is made of.
Meghan, I was curious because we asked you the question through the lens of the Merc, but obviously the Dream incorporating an all-star level, Team USA level piece in Angel Reese. Does this start kind of match your expectations? Not necessarily the record, but just the product on the court and how quickly this team has gelled. Is that kind of what you expected, incorporating someone like that?
To be honest with you, I actually did not have high expectations. I won't say that as a bad thing. I just like to see things unfold.
Mhm.
So for me, it was more of I'm curious about how Angel will fit in. Like, it was never like, okay, Angel won't fit in. I'm just curious of the how. What does the rotations look like? What do the actions look like? Are they going to have Angel come out of the paint more, facilitate? Like, I was just curious about how that would work. We saw little glimpses of it in training camp, and you didn't really see as much of it, I think, in the games, because Carl was really just trying to put pieces out there to see who can do what. So he really wasn't running a whole lot of plays. But I think it's something that we don't talk about as much as actually the Atlanta Dream's off the court relationships. Like, their off the court relationships has helped so much when they get on that court, because for example, Angel had a moment during the Minnesota game where her shot wasn't falling. She didn't have as great of a game as she wanted to. And Naz is coming over to her, telling her next play. Like, let's go. You got it. You're good. And Angel said later she thought Naz must have knew something good was going to happen because she has this game-saving block, right? Those moments when you are not, like, you don't have the best game, but you got teammates who are believing in you and pouring into a coach who is pouring into you and helping to develop you, that stuff matters. And I think, as she pointed out a couple of days ago, like, she wanted to come to Atlanta, one for the, of course, the team and the culture, but also she wanted to come because she wanted to win. She wanted to be developed like Naz was. Like, Leash was pushed to her best season last year. Bree Jones has a great year. Ryan gets on the, second team, all defensive team. So, like, there are multiple examples of Angel seeing, oh, if I come here, I can be my best, right? And so I think not only is it okay, I can be my best, but I can be supported by a group of players who also are pushing each other to be their best. And I'm not saying she didn't have that in Chicago. I'm just saying, like, here in Atlanta, it is very, very clear that they ride for each other, very much so, and they don't play about Angel, and she's only been here 7 games. And I think she's also leaning into them as well. We're seeing more and more moments of them leaning to each other, which is helping that on-court chemistry. And so I think for them, it's just continuing to get those reps in. And for Angel as well, and Carl talked about this, like, she needs grace and she needs space to be able to grow. Like, we talk about, oh, Angel needs to be better on this, or she needs to be better on this. And so my question is, do you want her to be better? Because people don't allow for that growth. They see the mistakes. They don't see the good things. They don't see the highlights. They don't see the double-double. They don't see the assists. They don't see the steals. They don't see any of that. Just oh, well, she's still not doing X, Y, Z. And so this is really where I feel like her being in Atlanta helps elevate not just the profile of the team, but elevate the parts of her game that are actually growing in real time. And I've tried to do my best to write about that. Now that I'm more of in a national lens, writing for the USA Today main site, but try to do my best to write about that like this is actually really happening. Because I do think that Angel will have a fantastic year, not just personally, but also with the Dream as a team. So I think that she'll be fine in terms of where she's going to go, but I can't tell you that I had this in mind because I'm a little different. I just didn't have like, oh, I expect Atlanta to crank out this, and this, and then be, nope. Other than like, hey, you got to get to 30 wins plus because that's what you did last season. That's it. That's really it. Like nothing else. Everything else is house money at this point. So shout out to Carl Smesko and his staff for making a product that is working early, and hopefully it will continue to work.
Before we get back to talking about the Mercury, I have to remind you guys, join the PHNX crew at our World Cup watch parties presented by Buchanan's, Casamigos, Don Julio, and Michelob Ultra. Wow, I'm like feeling a little FOMO that I haven't been invited to a single one of these watch parties yet. We're doing watch parties all over the valley for every USA and Mexico matchup. Visit gophnx.com/events for more details and to RSVP. Wait. You only have to RSVP. You don't even have to buy a ticket. Wait. Oh. Mac is about to be sick of me. I'm about to talk to him about these parties. I can't wait. Casamigos, and you ain't gonna invite me. What the heck?
I think it's implied that you're invited because it's not a party unless you're there. So
thank you, Gil. Thank you. It would just be incorrect. I'm seeing Mickey Ultra. I'm seeing Don Julio. I'm again Casamigos. What the? No one was gonna forewarn me. It's okay. I'll put the dates on my calendar right now. As long as it doesn't coincide with any WNBA games that are already booked in my calendar, we're good to go, guys. Don't worry. There's like 6 dates there. There's plenty of options. Gil, are you going to a party?
I might show my face.
I'll be honest. Soccer, not my favorite sport.
If you're emotionally invested, it can get pretty fun.
I might need to hit up one of our betting partners or something and just throw $5 on it to make myself care about it because
I was talking about cheering for a team playing, but yeah, you could do that too.
That's what I'm saying. I'll cheer for them harder if I have $5 on it. I mean, geez, like that used to buy me a sandwich at a certain unnamed sub location, but unfortunately it doesn't anymore. So,
Well, yeah,
they had to pay their way out of certain crimes they committed, and then now my footlong isn't $5 anymore. So. Nonetheless,
anyway,
back to the Mercury
I was just
basketball.
gonna say to break all of that up. I got a chance to watch a World Cup game in Brazil, and that was an amazing experience just to see the way other countries rally behind their national team for that particular time of year.
Mm-hmm.
That was a once in a lifetime. Like the city I was in Fortaleza, which is like northeast corner of Brazil. Whole city shut down, no traffic. Like tumbleweed could have ran across the road. Everybody was locked in at the crib, at somebody else's crib, at a bar, locked in, watching every single rotation of the ball on the pitch. It was an amazing experience. Soccer can be a lot of fun when you're emotionally invested.
I was about to say, it was just fun. This is where all telling our soccer stories. It wasn't in another country, but it was here. It was, I think the World Cup 14. I usually at my grandma's house we would put like American football on TV on Sundays, but we put on the game and like nobody knew what was going on. But by like the 50th minute, everybody was into it. It was USA and Portugal, I think, and it ended in a tie. And like, at the end, everybody was like, "All right, now what?" I was like, it's over, y'all. My bad. It's over. Everybody was let down after that, but like for like the 45th to the 90th minute, we were into it. So I'm looking forward to that this summer, and we can do it all y'all at these parties.
No, see, the parties sound fun. Being in Brazil sounds fun. Sitting in my, first of all, waking up at God o'clock to watch, European soccer, that is
Fair.
just not for me.
But it's perfect because it's here this year, so it's perfect.
Meghan, I visited Georgia back in February, the height of college basketball. Silly me, because I learned the hard way that y'all are up all hours of the night watching those games. That is crazy. I cannot believe I was up at 1:30 in the morning and the ball was still bouncing. I'm like, you people are insane. That is not for me.
It's just built different
I go
on
to
the
bed
East
at
Coast.
10:30.
Eastern time zone built different.
If it's dark outside, I'm trying to be asleep. At least horizontal.
I would probably say that I don't know how y'all function on the West Coast, because I remember being in Phoenix recently when I was there for Final Four, and Steven can attest to this, when I was there for finals last year. My whole body clock was completely off the entire week, because I'm like, what do you mean the game starts at 3 p.m. on a Saturday? Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, or we have these 11 a.m. start. Like, what do you mean we're having hoops before 1 o'clock? Like, what is even happening? And then it would be like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, and I'm exhausted because it's 10 o'clock at home and I have no idea what's going on. So I don't like the time that y'all have for like football games and basketball games is so strange to me, just so strange and foreign. The only time I really complain about times though is when they're at like 10 o'clock start times, like a lot of these W games are, where I literally have to just sit there with my eyes open as I try to like make it through the first half. If I'm working, it's a little bit different. I can make it through them. But if I'm not working and I'm just sitting in my bed, Godspeed, because it's gonna be watching me after halftime. Y'all are soldiers as well, because the early like times are just wild to me. Like, what do you like? You have a game and then you have like 6 hours after that for the rest of your day. Like, I would rather have my game. Great, that was a good game. Now I'm going to sleep. Like, that's it.
It's like, what now?
It's
what
like an early bird special for basketball. That's what I love about it. I'm trying to clock in, clock out. You know what I'm saying? And then I still got dinner to get to. You know what I'm saying? I love that.
See, I'm eating dinner as I'm watching the game. I'm eating food as I'm covering the game because it's at a proper time.
Listen,
I hear you.
Coming from that Central time zone.
Central time zone's the best.
Being back home in Chicago, trying to watch West Coast games, back when the NBA and the W was starting games at like 10:30.
That's tough.
Eastern time, so 9:30 Central time. I'm in like 8th grade, freshman year, trying to sneak and watch these games. Like, it was a hustle. So to have been on that side for a majority of my year, and then the last year and a half I've been out here, it's been fun to be able to watch a game or 4 and still have like 7 hours before it gets to midnight after all the games is over with and everything. And you can like, I can like actually plan something else. I can take a nap, wake up, and still have a lot of time to go eat, go clean the crib, like whatever. There's a lot of time you could do with that stuff being so much early in the day versus in the late part. So I feel you, trust me.
I would say I've been here 6 months. And the one thing that throws me off though is like, oh man, the game starts at 4. Oh wait, we still at work. Oh, the game we finishing doing something. It's like, oh, it's 4:30 and like tomorrow's game is at 4 o'clock.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, okay, like we need to finish up early so we can
I'm so
get
excited.
going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean,
It's
it's a good thing. You just have to get
I'm
used
like,
to it.
wow, I can't wait to go to bed at a normal hour. That it just invigorates me with excitement and joy. Oh my gosh.
A 4 o'clock game in the middle of the week is crazy. That
It's
is
weird.
so wild.
It's different. It's different. Like when they were doing like when they were closing up on Sunday, like, all right, we'll catch you guys here again on Wednesday at 3:30. Coverage starts. I'm like, huh? Coverage starts at 3:30. What? Okay, I guess.
Yep.
I was like, I guess the time I should get out of school at 3:30. The coverage starts at 3:30. What? Okay, I guess.
Well, everyone here just likes to be awake late. Not me though, but nonetheless, I'll get this train back on the tracks because Kevin didn't do it ourselves, so I'll have to do it. I'll steer the bus for him. But I want to ask you guys. Oh, this is the Mountain America Credit Union credit check. This is like the 3rd time this year I've said this. Yeah, it's credit check presented by our friends over at Mountain America Credit Union. I'm never gonna forget that again. Okay. Boom. I'm gonna ask you guys kind of as a collective. We're running out of time here, so I'm sorry, Meghan, if we keep you a few minutes past what I promised you. I promise we'll keep it short and sweet. But I guess for Phoenix fans, like how I like to frame things in a positive way, if possible. And is anything really fun or joyous about a 3-game losing streak? No, I'll be honest with you. It's pretty poopy, but not fun. But that being said, what can Phoenix fans feel optimistic about as they look ahead? Obviously, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not super excited that the Mercury's next game is against the New York Liberty after they've just lost 2 games at home, 3 in a row, I believe it is. I could be wrong about the actual logistics of that, but I am pretty sure it's 3 in a row. So I'm not super eager to, tip that ball off per se. But what can Mercury fans be optimistic about?
I guess I'll start. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Phoenix has shown flashes of what they could be, right? Like at one point on Sunday, I think the lead was as high as 15 or 16 points.
Mm-hmm.
They can certainly string together possessions, right? They can get those defensive stops when they need to. I think the biggest thing, of course, like we've mentioned, is just consistency on both sides of the ball. I think also like Alyssa Thomas said this, and I think she was saying this, I think with confidence that like, hey, this will happen. She said, hey, people got to want to guard, right? And I think that's saying like, hey, we have to want to play both ways for all 40 minutes. So I think for them, the thing is, Phoenix has been here before, maybe not particularly this long, but they've been here before. So and part of this group has been here before. So I think for them, it's like, okay, we know the things that we need to do to get back on track. And also, I mean, you have a New York Liberty team who also is desperate for a win. So it's again, it's going to be a question of who wants it more for these next 2 games. I think it's Wednesday and Friday they have games against the Liberty. I mean, if Phoenix comes out with both of those wins, that's a really solid like bounce back. Even if you get one of those wins, solid bounce back for them. But I do think that they've got to start defending on both ends of the ball, or yeah, they will find themselves under 500 for quite a while.
I know we talked about it, Thursday, when you asked, like, what can I be positive about? And I'm pressing the same button. Like, professional basketball, like, you need talent to win. And this roster is not devoid of talent. There's talent there, but we've talked about it already. It's a matter of putting people in the right places to succeed. We've seen flashes of it. But now is it, okay, can you string together 30 minutes of consistent basketball, 32 minutes of Mercury basketball, 38, 40 minutes, and get to that point? But as you said earlier, Meghan, as we all kind of alluded to, you got to figure it out. After next Wednesday, you will be a quarter of a way through the season. And you have to find the answer somewhere between now and then, because you don't want to be here at the end of the season saying, man, we wish we had a better start to the year because now we're on the outside looking in, or now we are, in a different tier of the top 8 or whatever it is you find yourself. These games are just as important as the ones you are playing in during the playoff push at the end of the season. So, I guess that's the pro and con folded in together, because you know exactly what the issue is. You can point a finger at it and say, we need to fix this. That's a problem in itself because it needs to be fixed. But at least it's not like, man, I can't put my finger on what's wrong with this team. We can't figure it out. It's very clear what this team needs to improve upon to be better, to find success. But now it's a matter of how quickly can they find it, because they can't find it when it's too late.
100%. Kevin, we can cue up what I had. So I do have first Mercury notebook since 2024, I think.
Ooh,
was the last time. So we dusted it off the notebook to get these back rolling this season. This guy here. This guy. Anyways, the Mercury shooting, for what their shooting talent is, the return on percentages so far has been murky. And I think with that in mind, as we look at what they've done shooting wise so far this season, they're under the 1 point per shot spectrum in terms of this particular measurement of a team's shooting impact that they're putting forth on the game. That's 14th in the WNBA, second to last. Look in addition to that at their effective field goal percentage on catch and shoot threes. These are all specific to catch and shoot threes. 46.8 effective field goal percentage, also 14th. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, this is not the good side either, but just in a different context. You look at the catch and shoot threes that they are creating, 92% of those are contested. You usually want to have a lot closer to open or wide open when you're creating these shots. That's not going to get it done in terms of the contested volume. And then the last part of that, the shot quality piece, is only at 48.9%, which is also 13th in the W. So I imagine on the positive, optimistic side, if you will, there is some positive regression that's going to be coming in the form of maybe it's just adding more shooting talent, the likes of Sammy Whitcomb over the next couple of weeks potentially, and Monica Kwame potentially as soon as tomorrow, that helps kind of put players in position to take those shots with more regularity. But I think the other side of it too is you look back at what they did last season successfully, which I'll be talking about in the notebook, playing off of stops. Play off of stops, the two best times to get best looks at threes, offensive rebounds, transition. They've been getting offensive rebounds, so that's not an issue per se. But transition has not been to the extent that it was last year because they haven't got enough stops. Get more stops, get in transition, defense isn't set. Now Alyssa Thomas is kicking out to all of the shooters she has, and those shooters are taking shots in a better rhythm. I imagine it comes back to defense, and that's setting the table for those shots, but they got work to do. And I think there's some positive regression on the shooting side will help them get closer to 500 like Meghan was mentioning, and then you see about what the ceiling is after that.
Well, guys, I feel like we've done some really excellent work today.
Hey, what's yours?
Consider
What's your optimistic?
Yeah, what's your optimism?
that can it get worse?
That's it.
It could always get
Yeah.
worse.
Yes.
Yes, it could always get worse.
I mean,
Listen.
you could have not had one win this season.
You could
Like,
have.
it could be
You
a
could have
lot
That's
lost
worse.
true,
a 15
but-
point lead.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
could have lost wire to wire.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I mean, geez, Louise, here I am on Sunday afternoon making my little Mercury win graphic, and then time keeps dwindling, time keeps dwindling. I'm looking for the perfect picture. Who cares about the perfect picture if now I have to change away from the Mercury win graphic and go to just a score graphic? That's so crummy. Ugh. And it takes forever to load on my phone. I'm sitting here working overtime trying to get this stupid app to do what it's supposed to do. And then I click in and, the new teams aren't even listed. I'm like, this graphic thing is not right. So, the positives are the graphic went up. The positives are Monique's probably coming back really, really soon. Albeit maybe not tomorrow. Just, at least my team didn't have to put out percentages regarding what probable and questionable means. Shout out to #OurFans for knowing what those things mean. And the other positive thing, Yo-Yo is very positive.
She's somewhere smiling literally right now.
She definitely is smiling. She is definitely having a good time. I'm not sure what the team is up to in New York, but I'm sure they're having a hoot and a holler. The other thing is I'm sure that the Mercury executives watched our previous show and they're going to make sure there's a Natasha Mack jersey very quickly because, there's no way they would watch the last show, watch me honk, watch Dolores honk at her high school graduation, and they're not even going to offer a 4 jersey. Come on now. Make it right. Make it right. Just make it right with your people, and your people will keep it right with you. You guys know what I mean?
Ooh.
Like, come on.
Bar.
Yeah, that's a bar. That's a bar.
Erica, I need you to get in touch with your inner rainbow bright. Guys, I'm actually not sure what that means. So I appreciate all of you guys for tapping in with us on this fine Tuesday afternoon. Good news, and actually before I say this and put my foot in my mouth, hold on 30 seconds, not even that long, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, post-game show this Friday after the Mercury take on the New York Liberty for the second time this week. So I'm really excited about that show. I always get excited when we get to do post-game shows. I go up in the studio. I don't know if they're going to allow this, but I'm like, maybe they'll let us do a watch along if I throw paint at the wall. I don't know. The equipment's already set up, isn't it? All I have to do is ask them the question, which I haven't done. So maybe Kevin and Leah and Shane will all kill me for even bringing this up on the podcast. But nonetheless, someone's got to watch and hear me ask the question. So if you're watching, Leah, Shane, anyone important, let me do a watch along. I want to act up. I'm trying to either crash out on the camera or also be happy and use my thunder sticks for fun. But I will say this, and this is a promise I'm gonna make to Steven, because Steven's held my expectations. I won't say held them back because that's not right, but he's kept me a realist over these last 2.5 years, and I like to maintain the realism that he's provided me on this podcast because it is stressful. It is stressful to be a basketball fan. You got to do this 44 times in a year, 88 if you cover 2 teams like myself, and you're going on this roller coaster. No, I'm not whipping out the thunder sticks until the Mercury 500 again. I'm not whipping them out. Those are staying in my backpack. They're staying in the office. They're not even getting blowed up. I'm irritated that I have not got a single opportunity all season to whip those damn thunder sticks out. And, Kevin and I have these cool ideas about ordering custom Thunder Sticks. I'm sorry. You think I'm going to get custom Thunder Sticks for a below 500 team? Ain't no way. Ain't
Gotta
no
earn
way.
it. Gotta earn it.
At this point, and I've never seen the Wings have Thunder Sticks on TV, but at this point, I'm closer to getting Wings Thunder Sticks than I am to using the Mercury Thunder Sticks.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Kevin, that's definitely character development for sure.
See, I've come a long way, right, Steven?
Yeah, no, that's real. That's definitely different than it was obviously in 24, but even last year, like we say this in respect to how hard it is to win and sustain winning, but when you play for that franchise in the Phoenix Mercury with those 3 championship trophies hanging above your head and all of those legendary names in the rafters,
and on the court for certain nights too.
And on the court for certain nights, and you never know who might be sitting courtside watching games on top of that. Like, there's a standard in place here, and like just the cookie cutter getting by ain't gonna get it done. For this franchise, there ain't no fun if you're not getting dubs. They're far beyond moral victories. So that's in alignment with that. You want to have fun, you got to start winning.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it starts
I don't
with
even want to
sustaining
see.
that.
Like, this is about to be a crazy sentence out of my name, but out of my mouth. But I don't even want to see no Mighty Mercury dancing until they're 500 again. I have no interest in seeing dancing on that court being had until they are at least 500. Because what do you mean 14th in the league? That's crazy. And I don't want to talk about standings because it's literally game 7, 8, 6 for some of these teams. But albeit, are we serious? Come on now. This is not 2023 before Erica and Steven got here. This is 2026. All right, guys, let's go with the program. Nonetheless,
I just say good luck saying no dancing after dubs to Natasha Mack, because.
And I'll be happy for her, but I personally will not be as joyous about it as I normally am. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
That's fair.
Maybe no knee beers this time if there's a win, because there is no reason for knee beers if we are not sniffing the playoffs. And again, it's too early to be having that conversation, but come on, just no way. Anyways, y'all,
Chat wants predictions,
I had so
by the
much
way.
fun. What, Kevin?
Are we getting out of here with predictions for tomorrow? Is that what did he get out of here?
Oh God, I don't wanna. Tanika, thanks for calling us on our nonsense. I'm gonna say I think the Mercury drop another one, but I think they pick up the win on Friday.
I think Monique comes back tomorrow, and true to point guard, but also leadership fashion, she restores the vibes. She kind of restores order in terms of how they operate on the court, but also the dominoes to help them be successful piece by piece. It's not gonna be just like a one sweeping blow type thing, but I think just somebody like Monique, especially at her position, just her presence it shifts things for the Mercury. And I think we'll start to see that almost immediately. I think they go and get a win in the first one. We'll talk about the second one when that time comes, but I do think they go and get a win over a team that they have a little bit of a psychological advantage over. If you go back and remember what happened in the regular season, they didn't get to doing what they did in the playoffs without laying the foundation for that in the regular season last year. So, and Mo also had some very big games in the Big Apple. So, I think they win tomorrow, and then we'll see about Friday once we get to doing our potential watch along, but definitely post game. So, yeah, we'll talk about that then.
So everybody here is in on the watch along, though. Like, everyone thinks it's a great idea. It would be so fun. We should totally do it, right?
That's fine with me. I mean, we'll be doing back-to-back watch alongs between Friday and Monday.
Woo! I know that's right.
Big time games too.
Big time games. You convinced me because I was leaning towards a narrow loss tomorrow, but I'm thinking back to this team, the desperation that they're going to come out with, or that they better come out with tomorrow. Yeah. And the last time we saw them with a chip on their shoulder, like a real chip on their shoulder, was opening day, and we saw what happened there. So I think that they, not like blowout, but I think that they win in a way that you feel good about.
I also say too, Satu Sabli is going to want to have a very good game tomorrow and Friday.
Yeah.
Will you allow for that to happen? Or are you going to make sure that she does not have the most fun while also showing love after the game, but
Of course.
making sure that there is no fun had during said game.
40 minutes are not going to be fun.
We're going to find out over these next 2 games for sure.
Megan, you got a prediction to give the chat? I don't want Tanika to yell at you, okay?
I actually have New York taking Wednesday's game and Phoenix taking Friday's game. I think
Okay.
they split those matchups. It's hard to lose twice, but regardless of whoever wins tomorrow's game. I do think that you have to ask yourself who needs the win more. I don't know. I can't tell
Coin
you
toss.
that. Yeah, it's probably a coin toss, but I do think New York being at home will likely help them, although Phoenix has won New York before, obviously. But I do think New York being at home will likely help them. And yeah, maybe they win tomorrow and then, lose Friday. I don't know. But either way, I think Phoenix has to come away with at least one of those games. Like, that is bare minimum. You have got to come away with one of those games.
Yeah, I think they need
One
to
of
finish
those
this road
games-
trip 2-1. They need to be above 500 on this road trip. You already lost the first one, so
It's okay, guys. It's all going to be fine. If you're still watching this podcast, just know it's literally all going to be fine. It's just a bouncy ball at the end of the day. And by the time this is over, Suns will be back to disappoint you some more. So disappointment year round never ends here in the Valley.
that's crazy.
That's wild.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I was texting Kevin before the show. I was like, dang, you know what? It's really tough, like to go from Arizona men's basketball where you lose literally 3 games all season and then you come to this and like I know it's not a 1-for-1 here, but it's like, wow, this is tough. I'm like, this will make you want to chew it out and spit it out. You know what I mean? This is not a fun time. But anyways, guys, it's all good. I'll find a way to be joyous about it, win or lose come Friday afternoon. So we'll see you here for the post-game show nonetheless. Maybe you'll watch along. Don't count your ducks before they hatch. Be sure to leave a like, 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to PHNX Sports. If you're not following Meghan Hall on Twitter, why not? Why not? Look inward and do that. It's it's Meghan L Hall. Bang! Yep. You can follow Steven at StevenPG3. You can follow our guy Gil at GilMcGregor _. You can follow me at Erica Lee Day. You can follow our super dope producer, where he's going to ask you how many times you've cleaned your water bottle this week, at Kevo Post over on Twitter. Which, by the way, Megan, that is the question of the day. How many times a week do you clean your water bottle?
That's a good question. Honestly, we probably use more like bottled water in our house than like actual like water bottles, but I would probably say, I don't know, like 3 times a week, because it's just like every couple days I'll make sure I run some soap through it. But I probably have a problem because I have multiple. I have like the big gallon jug that I take to the gym. I got Stanley's. We have Yetis. Like, you just pick one.
Just rotate.
I have multiple. So I probably wash mine as often as I like should, because I'm probably rotating through multiple. It's not just like, oh, I have my main one. So yeah,
it sounds like
is
you
there
wash them
consensus?
plenty.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say like I think 2 to 3 times a week is like pretty good. But is there
That's
like
about double
consensus?
amount of times as I wash mine per week. And
Oh.
I use the same cup every single day. There's no wrong answer here. No
okay.
judgment
I
from
was
anyone
like,
but Kevin,
I
and
just
you
was
can't even see
curious
that
if-
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious if people had like, oh no, I wash mine every day, and I was like, every like 2 or 3 days, I'll throw some soap in there, make sure we, clean it out.
I also found out that Kevin uses a new towel every time he showers. Is that like abnormal? Do y'all do that too?
I've learned it's abnormal.
Every time you shower? Yeah. I mean, I would
different.
say this. I would say that like no more than twice. Like I might use the same towel if I've like it's a fresh towel and like you have 2 showers. Okay, cool, fine. But like beyond that, no, throw that thing in the washer. Like, yeah, it's gotta go.
Yeah.
I could not agree more. For the record, that is
Especially
exactly
like
my
if you're
mindset on it.
showering twice a day, like I don't know. I mean, I
It's
hate to get into,
Arizona.
like,
It's
bodily
Arizona.
habits,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
Hey, if
But,
it ain't
like-
2 to 3, then you doing something wrong.
So, yeah.
Respectfully.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I was gonna say, especially if you're showering twice or even 3 times a day, considering like living in Arizona, like you every double shower, 2, 3 showers, yeah, you should be
It's a good point.
swapping it out. Yeah.
Points are being made right now.
Hey, I'm just saying. I don't know. I think everybody's different, but yeah, if you
There's a baseline though. Everybody's
time you
different, but there's a
shower is
baseline.
lot, but
There we go. Points per shot and towels per possession. Only on
Towels
the
posted
PHNX
yesterday.
Mercury.
These are
pod.
real stats too. They're
Real
not AI
stats.
stats. These are real stats.
Real
Real
stats.
stats.
Real life.
It's crazy.
Y'all, enough with the AI stats, please. I'm begging. Kathy, if you're watching, please don't do another thing that's going to upset me all year. I thought someone was lying to me in the comment section today, and I get proved wrong. I'm telling them to link me. You know what they did? Linked me, and I was color me shocked when I see what it was. That is crazy talk. So I hope the statisticians everywhere are very happy. Erica is not. Nonetheless, we've done really great work today. I've been Erica. I think I said this, but you can follow all of us together on Twitter, hooting and hollering, shooting the stuff at PHNX_Mercury, where we're obviously going to keep you updated on the next game. Live tweet tomorrow's game. Just because we're not doing a show doesn't mean you won't be kept up to date. So we will see you guys on Friday, and until then, bye, and don't do anything I wouldn't do.
We all silly like the mayor.